Hello, everyone, and welcome to the P1 Broadcasting Network. It is Murph. It's Andrew Wood, and we are live from the desert. It is the Phoenix Raceway, the improper version of Phoenix, but it is Phoenix nonetheless. And we're here for round two of the 2026 season one of the Area 51 IndyCar series. Along with Mark Murphy, and I, of course, am Mark Murphy. At least I am tonight. If I can remember his name, it's Andrew Wood, former Area 51 race winner and series runner-up. And Andrew, Phoenix is always a good time. It's a tight track. It is a 1 mile bull ring. You are going to see some close racing this evening. You're also going to see some very intense side-by-side action. It can be pretty difficult here to make a pass.
Yeah, Phoenix is definitely one of those tracks where you kind of sit in line a little bit. It's always easy to make those moves early on in the stint. You're trying to kind of set yourself up for a tire wear advantage later on in the stint, especially if you're sitting in that big long train you were mentioning before. It's better to position yourself later on to make sure that you have somewhat better tires in the car ahead of you so that when the tires wear, you can make those moves at the end of the stint. Otherwise, you're going to see these drivers basically holding position and trying to see if they can outlast their competitors ahead of them.
Absolutely. Just a little bit about the Phoenix Raceway. It was opened in 1964, so this track has long been around, and it's also long been a hotbed of IndyCar and open wheel racing for the longest period of time in the track's history, from 1964 up until the mid-'80s. There were two races here: the Jimmy Bryan Memorial in the spring and the Bobby Ball Memorial in the fall. The Bobby Ball ran until 1986, and then it was dropped from the 1984 or 1987 IndyCar season calendar. And at that point, only the Jimmy Bryan Memorial, the spring race, remained. Typically, Andrew, this was the first oval on the schedule, and it was kind of always viewed as a preview of Indianapolis. The track went with the IRL side in 1996 for the split, and remained so until the 2006 season when it was dropped from the schedule. The track was purchased by NASCAR. It came back in 2016 and then went away again 3 years later. And we are going back to Phoenix in 2026 as part of the spring NASCAR weekend. So it's kind of like the revival of the old Copper World Classic, which from 1977 to until 2009. Was a multi-class race weekend, multi-division. All of the USAC cars came here, and they would cap that off with the Jimmy Bryan Memorial IndyCar race, and that went for a very long time until 2009. So a track steeped in history. This, along with Indianapolis and Milwaukee, are probably the most historic of the IndyCar ovals, Andrew.
You know, this is kind of one of those races that if you're like me over in the Northeast United States, it's very, very cold, and you're just thinking of any sort of warm weather right now. And Phoenix is always the bastion of warm weather. So I'm sure someone like me right now is watching this saying, like, man, I wonder what those temperatures are like. And you make sure you want to perhaps visit and watch this race as it goes on.
Absolutely. We do have a starting grid here for Phoenix. On the pole, Kyle Clinworth, fresh off his big win at the Votive Indy Derby. He's going to have Chris Stouffer alongside. Clindy, by the way, almost a second quicker than Tony Kanaan's outright track record here. Gary Lovern, Craig Forsyth are going to be on row 2. Richie Hearn, Jeff Heisong start 5th and 6th. Gary Lingling, Mason Mitchum, Eric Peterson, and Matty Wagner are going to round out your top 10. In 11th, it is Ryan Kelly. Jim Herrick will start 12th. Shane Coker 13th. Frank Irwin Jr. 14th. We're going to have Devin Brock and Nicholas Stockner make up the 8th row. They're going to be followed by Charles Johnson, Bill Burrell, Wayne Campbell, and Joseph Morales, rounding out your top 20. In 21st, Kurt Rose, Victor Carr 22nd, Bill Colley the second is 23rd, and Jamie Molyneux 24th. The final four cars in the field, Andrew, did not take time in qualifying.
One thing with this track is that qualifying is sort of dictates what the exact race is probably going to start out like and maybe be like later. So those drivers that are in the bottom part of the top 20 you're just saying, man, I hope that there's some caution or something like that that gets you back into the running again, that gets you somewhat on a different strategy that you can maybe play around with a few different things to get yourself in a better position to be up front in this race. So Phoenix tends to be one of these short oval races, short oval / super speedway field kind of races that, okay, you're running flat a lot of the time and everything like that. It's very difficult to pass. But if you can find a way to get yourself disrupting that front pack a bit, it actually could pay off, especially if another off-strategy situation presents itself.
Absolutely. Do want to kind of go over the rules for the event tonight. We are running 175 laps, so 175 miles here at the Phoenix Raceway as the pace car is already off. This is a unique track in that you're going to see the drivers able to go right now. They have not yet gotten to the final corner. There they are. Barney's got the green flag in the air, and we're all ready to go. 175 laps tonight on tap here at Phoenix. Everybody safely through the dog leg and already around turns 1 and 2, headed for the back straightaway, Jacob, or Andrew.
Yeah, that was actually a very early start. I haven't seen Phoenix in quite a while, but that seemed very much like the cars were supposed to kind of be going at a double file pace around turn 3 and 4 going to the checkered. But hey, if you have the opportunity to go for it, it's time to go for it, and it leaves everybody else behind you vulnerable to try and find those spots. So we're watching, it looks like Clemworth and Stouffer are going side by side right now. They've swapped the position a couple times there through the first lap and a half or so, but Stouffer is not ready to get that spot back up yet as he is eyeing Clemworth for that lead again.
Yeah, Chris Stouffer went really hard down in there into turns 3 and 4. Kind of washed up the line a little bit, and that allowed Clinty to get back by him. Craig Forsyth observes from third. Gary Lovern right behind him in fourth. Gary Lovern just set the purple lap, and he was lightning quick in practice, Andrew. Gary Lovern had the quick lap in practice until Stouffer stole it late. That might be a car to keep an eye on. As I was speaking about rules, I thought they were going to do 2 pace laps here. Usually they do. We are on 75% fuel this evening, and so fuel window appears as though it's going to be about 40 to 45 laps. Unlimited sets of tires, and you are exactly right. If you're going to move from the front, if you're Shane Coker, Devin Brock, Jim Herrick, Charles Johnson, if you're going to move to the front of this field, you are absolutely going to need to make a move on strategy. It is very difficult to make a pass here if you are anywhere but the front 2. You can get a slingshot on the driver in front if you're second. The other place that you're going to see guys making a move, you got to kind of set it up, but if you go through turns 3 and 4, you get kind of a high line in and you come off low, you can maybe track underneath somebody going into the wide and flat turns 1 and 2 here, Andrew, but that's about all you can do.
I can mention that James Molyneux rode through the pit lane on the start of the race. I don't know if there was some mechanical issue or something that he was dealing with there, so he is now 2 laps down. He was pulling over for a bunch of these guys, and it actually caused a big bottleneck for 10th place. Mason Mitchum was holding on to 10th place for quite a bit there, but this battle for 10th place is kind of getting a little crazy right now. There's actually one car touched the wall there. I think it might have been Jim Herrick that's battling with these cars. There's 7 cars thrown under a blanket right now, trying to sort themselves out from that situation of the lap car that kind of placed himself right in the middle of the pack there. So this is great action right here. We can see what the high and low line looks like for a lot of these guys and exactly what they got to do to make their way forward. And as you can see, everyone gets into a single file line through turns 1, 2, and going into 3 and 4, it gets to be a little more side by side, but the inside line always seems to manage to get its way through.
It does indeed. On the older version of this track, Andrew, it was the other way around. The high line seemed to be dominant, but at the new version, as you're watching Frank Irwin Jr., Devin Brock do battle here. Brock in the DHL Alex Palou livery machine. Frank Irwin Jr. on the bottom. They're going to give it a shot. They got Charles Johnson now into the picture, and here comes Bill Burrell as well. Burrell went ran very well in the last race here. Point out that Clindy does have the points lead over Ryan Kelly, Mason Mitchum, Larry Yingling, and Gary Lovern on the strength of his win last weekend, and he's got his fans in attendance, led by Paula Scory. Paula, his mom, is here. They're watching, and Clindy's giving it a good ride. Chris Stouffer has taken over the lead. Forsyth is now second, so the 4D cars have gone to the front, Andrew. Clindy is back to third.
You know, Clindy can go back to third and save his fuel and save his tires a little more, knowing that Ryan Kelly and Mason Mitchum are sitting in that top 10 or just at the bottom of the top 10 area right now. There's nothing really for him to worry about. And even though it's very early in the season, everybody's thinking about points right now. You want to try and just get the most consistent finishes you possibly can. And last week we were at a faster oval. This week we're at a slower oval. So this is a wide-ranging group of tracks that we have in the series here, where it can highlight a lot of different capabilities of these drivers. So perhaps the less than favorable qualifying attempts from Ryan Kelly and Mason Mitchum have shown that perhaps they need a little bit of work on the short ovals, whereas Clemworth has now been up front for both races. And as long as he maintains his position, that's really, really good for a championship run.
I'll tell you what, there's a guy that's got a lot of experience here in the real world, race here, has raced here in life. That's Richie Hearn. He just went around Jeff Heisong. Richie Hearn has moved into fifth spot. He was looking at Gary Lovern in the Votive Racing League machine in front of him, and Hearn not able to get that pass done, lost too much momentum on the bottom, got the car pinched off. He almost fell into the clutches back of Heisong, and now he's going to mount another charge toward Gary Lovern. We're going to jump on board with Richie Hearn just to give the viewers at home a look at what this is like. And it is, the way that I would describe this here, Andrew, it is frenetic.
Yes, you're always doing something on this circuit here. You're always playing around with your tools inside the car. You're trying and find that clean air that is not so easy to find, especially when you're trying to guess what the person ahead of you is doing. And if they're in clean air, they're probably doing the exact same thing that you would ordinarily be doing as well. So that's what makes this track so difficult, is that you don't have a lot of time to think about what the car ahead of you is doing to get that advantage. So when you feel like you have that slight advantage, then the door sort of closes on you and you're back in that line again. So it actually is very frenetic. That's a really great verb you use there, Murphy.
You know, it's also one of those tracks, too. We're 21 laps deep into this thing, and we've been live now. We've been live now for, less than 10 minutes. The race here goes very quickly. You can blink, and it seems like it's over. We're already halfway through the first stint. And as you get back up to the battle at the front, Stouffer leads it, Forsyth second, Clindy third. The thing that I'm wondering, Andrew, and I did the math with the assistance of Casio. It appears to me as though that if you can make it 44 laps a run, you can do this race on 3 stops. If you go flat out, you're not going to be able to make that if it stays caution-free. And right now, we have not had any indication of any sort of trouble on the racetrack. And so keep that in the back of your mind. Clindy might be doing the smart thing here, saving his fuel.
That is definitely something to consider. We were watching the Votive Derby on Sunday night, and there was the opportunity for drivers to come in before the 50-lap mark to make sure that they get fresher tires and make up some track position, which is very important at Phoenix. But if you can just hold out a little bit longer and break the race up into stages, as you mentioned, 44 laps there, that gets you to the point where you only have to do this race on 3 stops. And that is something to consider, but you also have to realize that we're still early in the season with a lot of new drivers in the series, and it's possible that a caution is going to come out right about halfway point during the race is what I would predict. So maybe you gamble and pit a little bit early, just get yourself off the track, get yourself fresh tires, and you would just fly around all those other cars that are battling ahead of you. That's probably a better idea for drivers that are just outside the top 10 and they want to break into the top 10. And if the yellow comes out just right, you're going to put yourself right in the middle of the top 10 and you're going to be pitting with everyone else. So you'll net about 5 or 6 spots there. So that's definitely something that are going through these drivers' minds. Do I want to strategize for the full green flag run, or do I want to try and put myself on a better strategy for later in the race?
Well, I'll tell you what's also going to be a factor here. We're going to jump on board the nose of Chris Stouffer. He is roughly 16 seconds ahead, and you can kind of see the tail end of the field off of his nose here, the lipstick camera made famous by Bobby Rahal in those early 90s kart races. You look ahead, you can see traffic. Traffic is going to be a factor here. He's catching them about half a second a lap. It's going to be a factor here within the next, Andrew, 4 or 5 laps for certain sure.
Well, that's just the thing, is the leader never has to worry about dirty air, but once you catch the back of the field, the dirty air starts to play in, especially if you've been wearing your tires a little bit more than the rest of the field. You may be driving a little bit more dangerously and taking more risks to make sure you don't lose the lead, but yeah, once that back of the field starts to run, we saw this actually in real life IndyCar too, when the cars were racing here. Everyone was running in a solid line, but it was very difficult to lap cars because they were running not as quick as the leader was in clean air. Ooh, Stouffer might have touched the wall there, but
yeah, he did.
He might have gotten away with that. Just slightly got away with it. But yeah, once you start catching the back of the field, especially if you look at the back of the field right now, there's about 7 cars all piled on top of each other. And that's going to be very difficult for the leader to navigate through, because not only do you have to get next to the car that's going a lap down, but then you also have to clear them. And nobody wants to go a lap down here, because that automatically ends your race strategy in terms of getting back to the front again. So Stouffer is in the window right now where he's going to start getting that dirty air. It may be easy to get by 1 or 2 cars, but once you catch a few cars that are running the same pace or very slightly slower pace, it's very difficult to get that run going. Well,
and it's about tools too. You've been out in clean air for so long. You've got your weight jacker set where you want it. You've got your anti-roll bars set where you want them. You get into traffic and a car glances off the wall. That appeared to be Bill Colley. He gets away with it. Craig Forsyth does back off to let him go. Bill Burrell goes a lap down as well. Stouffer gets through. Forsyth has not yet made his way through Colley and Burrell, and that's going to allow Clindy to close right up on the back of Craig Forsyth there. Clindy!
Ooh. Yeah, so like I mentioned, it was easy to get by a couple of cars, but once you get 4 or 5 cars in, it's going to be pretty much stuck for the leader to get back by unless something really, really bad happens. So these are probably drivers that are, again, we have a lot of new drivers in this field, so there's probably the opportunity for these guys to just say, okay, I'm hanging at the back of the field. I want to kind of learn a little bit more. Maybe I'll pull over and let the leader by, but that's not going to be the case for every driver.
Well, and it's not going to be the case through the field. Once they start getting deeper in the field, they're not as apt to pull over. We're watching Gary Lovern. Bill Colley goes high, but Lovern was trapped behind Colley for a couple of laps, and that cost him almost a second off the back of Kyle Clinworth. He was creeping in the picture on Clindy, and now he's nearly backpedaled into the clutches of Richie Hearn. And so that's the other thing that that traffic does. It can back people up to each other. It can stretch the field out. The best battle on the track is back here. That's Larry Yingling and Jim Larry Yingling and Jim Herrick is the best battle on the speedway. There's Yingling. He had nearly caught Jim Herrick, but now he's got a lot of trouble in the form of Frank Irwin all over his rear wing.
Looks like Bill Colley might be pulling into pit road, and we're getting very close to the pit stop time here, Murph. I had heard from Eric Peterson. I was chatting with him before the race, and the 44 laps is doable, but you may see people peeling in before 40. So I would say if we get to lap 40, everyone's going to be trying to go for that 3 stop. I would say if you want to go off strategy, you want to do it on the first stint, because then you're sort of setting the pace for what the rest of this is like.
I tell you what, we've had our first heavy hitter hit pit road. Chris Stouffer pulls his 40 Raceware machine down the pit lane, and he is short of that mark. We're going to get back to the front because there's a guy that I guarantee you is not going to run short of fuel. That is Craig Forsyth in in another one of those 40 Raceware machines. Of course, Craig Forsyth sporting the classic Jacques Villeneuve, Alex Tagliani, Greg Moore look in that car. That was made famous so many years. The players livery for Forsyth Racing. He is
A lot of cars sitting now.
Yeah, we've got Gary Lovern, Frank Irwin Jr., Devin Brock on the pit lane. We're going to stay with Forsyth because here he comes, and watch him try to get this thing down on pit lane. It is very treacherous down there on that apron. He's going to get there, and he is going to get himself into the pits, and Clindy is going to follow him right at 44 laps. Andrew, 44 laps.
Yes. Yeah, we got most of the field pitting right now. We got about 11 cars traveling down the fast lane of the pit road, so this is the time. We barely made it to 44 laps, so I think fuel may not be so much a concern now. You could do 44 laps without an issue. All it takes is maybe doing one more lap, and it's a very, very short lap around here. So it's possible that these drivers are thinking of the three-stop strategy. I didn't see anybody come in early to try and risk something different. So I think everybody's going to be on the same pit stop strategy until we get that first caution.
We've got a car around at the mouth of pit lane. It is not Mason Mitchum.
It looks like Victor Carr.
Very good, Victor Carr, and there he is. So we need to figure out what happened to Victor Carr here. I do want to thank everybody for joining in on the P1 Broadcasting Network. You've got Murph, you've got Andrew Wood. We are watching the Area 51 IndyCar Series. This has been around a long time. This is what, the 20th season of Area 51, Andrew?
It is. I wouldn't disbelieve that. Oh, we have a wreck on the front straightaway. I just happened to catch Matt Wagner going around, and there's a yellow car there, I believe.
We've got cars everywhere.
Multi-car wreck happening right now. Eric Peterson, I believe, is one of them.
We do indeed. Peterson, you see there hard in the wall. We're going to go back and catch Matty Wags as
They're still wrecking, unfortunately. We have several cars blocking the front straightaway right now, Murph.
All right, so there's Shane Coker. He is one of the damaged. Jeff Heisong also has a meatball. Devin Brock has been involved. Richie Hearn is already back in the pit lane, as is Eric Peterson. Bill Colley has a meatball flag. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars involved in this early race melee that we believe started with Matt Wagner. And so I was trying to get back to where this started, and we're gonna see it. It might not have been Wagner. He's coming out of the pit lane here behind the car of Richie Hearn. You've got watch Eric Peterson in the back here. So Hearn and Wags exit. Lovern takes it 3 wide, and there goes Peterson to the high side. Richie Hearn bears out a little bit. They get some net code. Around those 3 cars go. It is a wild accident that involved those 3. And now you've got the track essentially blocked, Andrew. There comes Shane Coker up and over the back of Jeff Heisong. There's Bill Burrell, there's Devin Brock involved. Here come more cars. And this is where it gets really difficult. They're still wrecking on the front straight. Need to get back to not Eric Peterson. Let's see.
I think what happened here, Murph, is I couldn't tell if there was any contact from Richie Hearn and Peterson or not. It seemed like there was a little bit of contact, but there could have been a netcode incident there. Peterson kept it up high on the wall, and Hearn got boxed in between Wagner and Peterson, and I think he was just trying to fit his car exactly where he would need to go down the pitch straightaway there, and unfortunately maybe the back end of the car kicked around as he was contacting Peterson, and Wagner had nowhere to go. and then the car comes back around the track, and suddenly the track is blocked, and other unsuspecting cars from behind are not able to really predict what's going on, especially as smoke starts to fill the air.
Well, and the other part of that is you don't have a lot of time to really make a move. You can't see around that corner. And iRacing, the spotter is pretty good in this thing, but it does not tell you that the track is blocked. And so you can't really blame anybody that kind of golden bowling balled through there just because you can't see. The good news is this is a fast repair track. So we do have several drivers that have used that fast repair, beginning with Jeff Hysong in 11th, and there he is. He was missing a rear wing as a result of that accident. Devin Brock has also affected his fast repair, so too Matty Wagner. As we get ready to go back to green.
Green.
We are green.
We are. The cautions here could be really quick, Andrew.
Yeah, we were trying to dissect that incident under a normal circumstance. We would still be under yellow right now, but we're back to green again.
It's hard to
it looks like everyone's gotten away very cleanly. This is the time, as we mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, that this is the time where you make your moves. So now the pit strategy is kind of out the window because now we've saved a little bit of fuel on the second stint. So that 44 lap run is going to be very, very easy there. And from here, we're just going to kind of run it out, maybe pick up a spot or two going forward. But yeah, it looks like Chris Stouffer has continued to have a stranglehold on this field right now. Clemworth still is in third, but Wayne Campbell's lap car there. So Clemworth has gotten ahead of Forsythe for second place.
He has, and Wayne Campbell is Chris Stouffer's best friend. That caution was also a huge friend for Chris Stouffer because he's got a lap car between himself and Clindy as you watch off the back. Not only does he have a lap car there, but he's building a pretty big lead. Stouffer had made an earlier pit stop than Clindy, Forsythe, and some of the others. He was going to be a candidate to not be able to make it, but Stouffer, by virtue of that caution, Andrew, that may have made his race.
Absolutely. You always like to see yourself put in a situation where you're not immediately threatened by a car behind. So very good on Chris Stouffer to take advantage of that. And this just goes back to the track position scenario. Stouffer started the race up front. He's now put himself in a spot where he's feeling pretty safe, other than perhaps someone coming to threaten him side by side. But when you're running up front, you can pretend to do every line you want, especially through 1 and 2, and feed the dirty air to the cars behind. And if you're able to do it in such a way where you can predict where the car is going to want to make the move either at the beginning or the middle of the corner, you could be right on the exit and give the dirty air to them in such a way that they're not going to make that run on you down that short pitch straightaway down to turn 3.
You can. This is the battle for second, and we jumped in to the P1 airship just to kind of give the fans at home an idea of the different lines that these guys are taking. Wayne Campbell all the way against the yellow line. Clindy about a quarter of a groove up. Craig Forsythe shading him higher. Now they get down into turns 3 and 4, and Campbell runs the middle. Forsythe the bottom, Clindy the top. Clindy is going to make the move to get by Wayne Campbell here, so he's going to have the jam car now between himself and Forsythe, and that's what Clindy wants to have. Watch out, boys, don't come together.
That got very close there, but Clemworth will have used some of his tire life to try and get by Wayne there, which is exactly what he needed to do to put himself in a spot where he can actually fight Chris Stouffer head-to-head. But Stouffer was able to run by himself in the clean air to get himself a little bit better tire life than Clemworth did going for that pass. That being said, Stouffer is battling lap cars.
He just about had to come together.
Almost a moment. Yes, almost a moment there. So Stouffer theoretically, as the leader, would have had a lot of clean air to play around with his different lines and everything, but I still think that Clemworth is such a master at this now. He has learned so much in these seasons he's been doing in different leagues up and down the IndyCar spectrum here. I don't think he will have hurt his tires so much that he will not be able to take the fight to the leader.
Yeah, that's true. We're going to take a look off the back of the 4D Racewear machine of Chris Stouffer, and that tells the tale, really. That tells the tale right here. Stouffer got that nice lead. He's out 7/10 over Clindy. Forsyth is third. He has now made it around Wayne Campbell. The fight with Campbell is now back with Gary Lovern and Ryan Kelly. Ryan Kelly has moved up to the 5th spot. Great run for him. But these two are in danger of losing touch with Craig Forsyth, Kyle Clinworth, and Chris Stouffer just because of traffic.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where Gary is. So Gary was battling a couple of lap cars that were around there. So he has cleared Wayne Campbell now, and Ryan Kelly is right on the heels of Gary Lovern for 4th place. So really, really great showing for Lovern here. He didn't get caught out by that caution period at all. He has a little bit of ground to make up on Craig Forsyth and Clenworth, but I think with further lapped cars, that's going to kind of squash everyone a little bit more together. And at this point, if I were Gary Lovern and I had a little bit of clean air, I'd be just trying different tool settings in the corners, trying different arcs, going very, very high down to the middle. Make sure you get the clean air on the exit. There's all sorts of different things you can do to prepare yourself to catching up to cars up ahead of you, to see if you can maybe get them caught out a little bit to make the move later on in the run.
Indeed, a car that's worth shouting out, and a guy that has made up a bunch of spots tonight on a track very difficult to pass. That's the number 40 of Jim Herrick, the 4D Racewear impresario, has made up 6 spots. That is not easy to do, Andrew, but Jim Herrick giving that car a heck of a ride as he tries to get underneath Wayne Campbell and move himself back into contact with Ryan Kelly and Gary Lovern. So great run for Jim Herrick as he runs along in 6th. Another car that we haven't really talked about all that much, there's Frank Irwin Jr. He is in 7th. He's got Nicholas Stockner right behind him in 8th. There's Nicholas in the number 124. Matty Wags took his fast repair. He is back in 9th, and Jeff Heisong also took the fast repair. He is 10th. Eric Peterson behind them, 2 laps down in 20th place. That is your top 10. Charles Johnson is running along in 11th. There's Charles. Kurt Rose is in a battle with Devin Brock. That's 12th and 13th. Wayne Campbell, who was the lap car there, he's the first car 1 lap down in there. He is, at least for Wayne, the good news, the silver lining, Andrew, is that he is the first car lap down. Another caution comes out. He is right back on the lead lap.
And that's going to be a cherished spot that we have to watch. We have to watch the Wayne Campbell spot right now for 14th place, because if Larry Yingling or James Molyneux happen to threaten him and the caution comes out at the right time, especially during a pit stop rotation, that possibly could get them back on the lead lap again. And the lead lap is where you want to be at a short track like this. It's a very, very short lap, but you also don't want to lose touch to the leaders. Stouffer is navigating the traffic beautifully from what I'm watching right now, going through the field as you did there and talking about the drivers that are having a really good race. It looks like Stouffer has really got this figured out right now. He's running multiple different lines on subsequent laps and finding his way by this lap traffic and not losing any time to Clenworth in 2nd place. So he's got a good feeling on how things are going right now. But yeah, we have to really watch that 1 lap down situation, because Wayne Campbell's got it right now, but he could come under threat any sort of time, especially if he gets into the wake of other cars ahead of him.
He can. The good news for Wayne Campbell is he's 4.4 seconds in a rear or ahead of Larry Yingling, and so that's the good news. And I don't think Larry Yingling did not use his fast repair, and he did get some damage. And I wonder if there's a handling issue on that 67 machine, Andrew, because he has not been up to full song. We've been watching Chris Stouffer from the grandstands. We'll get back to the TV shot here in just a moment. Ryan Kelly has very quietly moved himself into contact with Craig Forsyth. This is the best battle on the track, Andrew. Ryan Kelly is closing on the fuel-saving master for 3rd.
You know, we've talked a lot about Ryan Kelly in the last 7 or 8 races in Area 51. He isn't the most aggressive driver, someone who really wants to come through the field fast, but he always manages to show up right where you don't want him to show up. And that's exactly what Ryan Kelly is doing this race. We were talking in the first stint how he was hanging out in 9th or 10th or so, and Clanworth is very happy that Ryan Kelly was nowhere nearby for the championship, but look at what has happened. He's put himself in a good spot with the first pit stop, that he has now found himself moved up 7 spots, and he's sitting in 4th spot. So he might just be kind of minding his tires a little bit, running a little bit conservatively to make sure that he has a good run at the end of the stint here. We're getting to the end of the second stint. We're probably going to see pit stops within the next 12 to 15 laps or so, which tick by very fast, by the way. And I would like to see if Ryan Kelly can outsmart the field and pick up a couple more spots.
That is definitely going to be something to watch. Of course, I'm a big fan of saying this, Andrew. They don't pay any money for lap 81, but they sure do for 100. They sure do for the one with the checkered flag on it. So it doesn't really matter to me that much where I am at this stage of the race, just as long as I'm in a decent position to have a chance at the end. And Ryan Kelly, run along in 4th, certainly has put himself in that position. Stouffer still leading it, and he is all alone. Let's hop on board with him. He has got that cherished clean track right now, Andrew, and there doesn't seem to be anybody really all that close to him. Within 3 or 4 seconds, I think, of the car in front, but certainly no dirty air, certainly no problems with the handling. Yellow. We've got yellow on the course. Richie Hearn has made contact with the turn 2 wall, and let's see what we've got for Richie Hearn. Everybody's going to be able to navigate around him pretty easily. Of course, Richie was up in the high line and out of the groove. Usually when you see something like that with an angle like that, Andrew, it means that there was some sort of contact. Let's see what we got.
I was actually going to mention right before that yellow flag there that Wayne Campbell lost the lucky dog. It's going to be Kurt Rose that has gone by him, so he will get the lucky dog. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the incident.
Yeah, so that was James Molyneux there that made contact with Richie Hearn. Both cars hard in the outside wall, both cars with meatball flags. Richie Hearn has already used his fast repair, so he is going to be out of this one. James Molyneux has his fast repair, and he's going to maintain his position 1 lap down. You mentioned Kurt Rose. There he is. He'll get back onto the leader lap and be back in 13th place. Wayne Campbell couldn't hold on, and that's going to be a big story. What's also going to be a big story is everybody is going to come back down pit road. And Andrew, this is going to be kind of interesting as we watch Stouffer go up on the jacks. This is going to be interesting because that was what you're going to say. That was right in the cycle as we watch the cars come off pit road. In the pit cycle.
Yeah, the drivers needed to make it to lap 86, 87 in order to make this a 3-stop race, but we're on lap 84 right now, right? Yeah, I believe the drivers are pitting on lap 84. It's only a lap or 2 short, but it's something worth talking about. If these drivers can't run that 44 lap stint that we were talking about from the first stint, it's going to be very difficult to save fuel. However, it could draw these drivers to run a little bit more conservatively to perhaps save their tires, save their fuel up and down the field. And if so, they could possibly make it.
They could. Now, from what we saw on the first stint, as we get ready to go back to green flag action here, from what we saw in that first stint, if it becomes a fuel save situation, that would favor Kyle Clinworth, Craig Forsyth. It would not be an advantage to Chris Stouffer. He was one of the first to pit, and so if it comes down to a fuel mileage derby, Chris Stouffer might be in a little bit of trouble given what we saw in that first run. They're lined up to the outside in improper turns 1 and 2. I don't care what Caleb Brashear says. This is the improper version of Phoenix, but it's where we're at. Stouffer is going to lead Clindy around, and they can get on the gas right there, almost a half a lap early, Andrew. come through turns
Green
3
flag,
and 4,
green flag.
and now they get the green flag.
Yeah, this is something that I'm just not used to seeing at Phoenix, and it's something I'm taking notes on for the next time I race here, because I'm sure I'll be racing here eventually. But yeah, usually the drivers keep their pace speed going around turn 3 and 4. But regardless, here we go, and yeah, it looks like Molyneux has pulled over for some of these cars coming through the field as he's a few laps down. We're in a single file formation right now, but Christopher continues to have a stranglehold here. Clemworth is pressuring him in the slightest here. I don't think he's going to have the run necessarily, but I think he's going to start making Stouffer think a little more about what line he wants to take. And Stouffer has had a lot of practice trying to defend which line, upper line, lower line, middle line, whatever works. But Clemworth is a master at this, and I don't think he's going to go quietly. Forsyth is also lurking in the background here. But as the third place driver on a track like this, there's not really much you could do to disrupt the 1 and 2 drivers here.
Well, and let's talk about the fuel situation. If you're Chris Stouffer, pretty much all you can do is turn the fuel knob, lean the mix down, and try to save fuel that way. Clindy has more options, though, as the front 4 stacked right on top of each other. That's Stouffer, then Clinworth, Forsyth, Ryan Kelly, and Gary Loburn has crept into the picture. So throw a blanket over the top 5 right here, Andrew. But I think that's a function of Chris Stouffer saving gas, and nobody wants to lead this thing. Here comes Ryan Kelly. He's going to dive to the inside, and he's saying to heck with it. Y'all want to ride around on the brakes. I'll go ahead. Clindy is going to follow him through. So move Chris Stouffer from first to third in 1 lap. Ryan Kelly now leads it. Clinworth second, and Chris Stouffer back to third.
You know, Mark, one of the things that I was going to mention is that there's always a surefire way to tell that people are fuel saving. Wow, that was close to Gary Loburn there, entering turn 3 with Wayne Campbell, but everyone gets away with it clean. I was going to mention that the lap prior to what we were discussing there, on a track like this with all the dirty air, the drivers tend to go about a half second back. From a spectator standpoint, cars one on top of the other, like 1 car length apart. That is a surefire way to tell that people are saving fuel. So you saw that Stouffer, Clemworth, Forsyth, Kelly, they were all boom, 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 right in a line like that. They are saving fuel. They're not going full tilt, because otherwise there would be a dirty air aspect there. So what you saw with Ryan Kelly coming out of turn 2 there was a run down the straightaway. I'm sure all the drivers that he was passing there said, please go. I do not want to be the leader in this race. So definitely a fuel save going on right now, and it's definitely needed to make sure you hit that 45 lap mark.
You know, it most certainly is. And here's the thing, you talk about dangerous. That is some of the most dangerous racing you can do, Andrew, is when it's a fuel-saving race and everybody's kind of running around half or 3/4 throttle with the fuel turned down. You can stack stuff up really quick. Wayne Campbell glances off the wall in the background, but you can stack the field up really quick. I remember, and you can go back and look this race up on Race Spot if you'd like. Our colleagues over there covered it. One of the old Indy Open top split races, we were kind of doing that same deal, and I was running like 7th or 8th, and I just felt it was so dangerous. I knew I wasn't going to make it on fuel, but I figured, heck, at some point, if we keep doing this, somebody is going to run over somebody else, and there's going to be a caution, and all this nonsense is going to be meaningless. As it turned out, that happened, but I remember going down the front straightaway. I turned up the fuel, got out of line. I blew by Jacob Oster, Brendan Lichtenberg, then Brandon Trano, then Robert Malechka, and Jacob Oster gets on the mic, keys the mic in the chat, and he says, "Go, Murphy, go!" Because they wanted the Rabbit to go out in front and lead it to break up the pack, right, to make it less dangerous. That was just kind of a funny moment for me.
Well, you have someone like Ryan Kelly right now who said, I'm not playing this game, and he is banking on there being a caution around probably lap 115 to 120 would be ideal for him, because not only does that cut out the fuel save for the rest of the race,
but everybody's going to stop
at the front of it. Exactly. It puts him at the front of the field. Everybody's going to stop anyway. That would be the ideal situation, but it's like when you're at the casino, you put your chips down the roulette table saying, I want the first third. And if the ball spins and it hits in the first third, you're the winner. If not, well, you're going to wind up in a different scenario, and then you have to re-strategize what you're going to do with your bets from there. So, so Ryan Kelly is going for it right now, and sometimes people are just more comfortable going full full mix, full drive, and everything like that to try and get stamp their track position, because they know they can hold on to it, especially at a track like Phoenix. So Ryan Kelly is risking it all right now, 22 or something like that. He will look like the winner in all this.
He most certainly will. Do want to thank everybody for tuning this one in. We've got a pretty good audience here tonight, Mr. Wood, for the Area 51 round from Phoenix. If you haven't already done it, make sure you smash the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to P1 so that you too can be involved in all of our high-quality iRacing broadcasts. Tomorrow night, we've got the Formula Indy Series at 8:20 p.m. That's going to be Gary Godso. We're off Thursday and Friday in preparation for the virtual Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. You going to run that, Andrew?
Yes. As of now, yes. It's up in the air, but I was talking to some of my Team Chimera teammates earlier, and I believe we'll be making a run for it.
So what are you guys going to do? You're going to do the prototype and LMP. You're going to do a GTP, LMP2, GT3. What are you guys?
We are a GT3 all the way sort of team, so I think we're leaning towards the Porsche right now, but we're trying to look for availability, and I think that we're going to make a run for it. We did it last year, and then, of course, the rain got in the way, and some people weren't so acclimated to it, and it was a little difficult for us, but I think this year we're going to be a little bit more prepared.
So I'm going to have a fun weekend. Friday at about 7 o'clock, I am going to jump in what is being dubbed as the clown car. So we've got 12 drivers from across Rogue Racing, Indy Alliance Racing, Satellite Racing, Fiercely Ford. Kevin Burrell is going to jump in that car along with Sam Carosella. So just a who's who. I'm by far the weakest driver in that car, but it's a who's who of the community, and we're all going to run it no more than 2 stints across the 24 hours, and no driver is going to drive it more than twice. That's going to be a fun time, Andrew.
That's a lot less stress than what a lot of teams go through in terms of trying to put your best drivers in the best times and whatnot.
It most certainly is. And then Saturday, we're going to have a treat for everybody here on P1. For those of you who follow the Black Magic Studios Grand National Series, Outland Arms is taking that over on Thursday nights for the AMA Stock Car Series, and then Friday for the Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. We're going to have a star car that is being helmed. It's being helmed by me, so the humble broadcaster is leading the charge. Kendale Paul, James Hodgson, and Matty Wagner are going to co-drive that entry, and that's the Serious Shot are going to be streamed on P1. So you can follow the crew that races Thursday and Friday for 24 hours on the P1 Broadcasting channel on YouTube. That'll be fun, won't it?
It seems like something that you want to tune into for some entertainment for sure, because I'm sure there'll be some laughs.
Watching me on a road course is always laughable, Andrew. It's always, you know that. You know that better than anybody. We're going to flop back off the lead and watch the battle here for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Gary Lovren has been challenging Craig Forsyth quite heartily for that 4th spot. Stouffer leads it. They are in traffic. Clindy had approached Ryan Kelly earlier for the lead, but he's kind of backed off of that. There, you can kind of see it in the corner of the screen. So racing all over, all through the top 5 at least. Matty Wagner has made it back up to 8th spot, and he is challenging Frank Irwin Jr. here for 7th, and that is the best battle on the track. Wags all over the back of Frank Irwin Jr.
I think we're going to be expecting pit stops here in about 15 laps or so, and I was mentioning the 113 to 122 time. That'd be perfect for Ryan Kelly, and that window is about to close very shortly here. But Bill Colley is being lapped right now and kind of going high, going low, trying to avoid cars. So that's a potential caution situation if you're thinking about slower cars that are trying to get lapped and stay out of the way. These things happen. People trip over each other, but Colley is being very generous here, trying to stay out of everyone's way. But anything can happen here. If someone puts a too much of a weight jacker in, or does a little bit of something a little strange with the side-by-side motion as Wagner is really battling here. That could be another caution situation. So anything's possible here in the next 5 or 6 laps that would really, really help out Ryan Kelly.
Yeah, Wags is trying to use the lap car of Wayne Campbell as a dirty air pick almost to get by Frank Irwin Jr. He almost had that move made. Matter of fact, he pulled a nose ahead down there into turn 3, but couldn't quite make that move stick on the bottom through that corner. And there you see what he's trying to do. Frank Irwin Jr. still caught up behind Wayne Campbell, who is not yielding the track position. Wags guesses low. Frank Irwin Jr. goes high, and they continue to file through. That is the best battle on the track. I've got one eye, Andrew, on that 3-4-5 battle. That has stabilized just a little bit.
Well, part of me was thinking that Stouffer was just committing to a fuel save mode because he had dropped back so far from Clenworth and Ryan Kelly, but they are, as you mentioned, they are starting to close back up very slowly. That could be a traffic situation. And remember that Stouffer and Forsyth are teammates, so I'm sure they're chatting with each other, saying, okay, I'm going to hold my fuel, just stay back there and hold off Gary, and we'll be able to stave off everything. But I was starting to wonder if it might be a different kind of strategy to split this up into 2 stints, right? So if you want to go to lap 135 or so, you can make it to the end. But if you go to maybe lap 130, you could break this up into 2 somewhat 90% long stints. That's risky because you'll go a couple laps down, but it's worth a different kind of strategy call where you're always driving with the freshest tires possible.
That's possible. I think for me, the call here, Andrew, the call here would be the call here for me is I want to go as long as I can here because I want to be able to burn as much fuel as I need to in that final stint. So if it was up to me, I would go to lap 133 if I could, just to be sure. Stouffer had been pulling in a 10th a lap on Clindy. That is now stabilized. Clenworth has now dropped a second back of Ryan Kelly. Kelly still leads it, and there he is. He is trapped behind 2 lap cars, and those 2 lap cars are battling in front of him, and that is not what you want to see as the leader, Andrew. Split him 3 wide.
That's a beautiful run down the middle there, but no, I was going to say that if I see those 2 lap cars battling and I'm on a full burn mode, that's a time where I want to save a teaspoon of fuel here, as I always say, a teaspoon of fuel there. And those teaspoons could add up to an extra lap that you possibly need later on. So you were mentioning about, regarding the 133. If Ryan Kelly could somehow make it to 133, I don't think he will. I think he's going to pit in the next 3 or 4 laps here. He will be able to do it on one more stop. We see, okay.
Well, here he is.
Looks coming now. Did he slow down in time?
So Ryan Kelly on the pit lane. He does not have a black flag, at least one that
looks it looks like a very fast entry to me, but I guess he did slow down in time.
It does appear that he did, but that is going to bring him to pit lane, and he is well outside what we think the fuel window should be, Andrew. He's going to have to go 46 laps. For the record, Ryan Kelly made it 44, and there is yellow involved in that 44 laps. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Clindy now leads it, and he is falling backward toward Chris Stouffer as well. Stouffer now within 0.6 of Clindy. And if I know Kyle Clenworth, and I know him pretty well, I bet you the fuel knob in that.
There's an incident in pit lane between Jeff Hysong and Victor Carr. I think Hysong lost his front wing. I'm not really sure what happened there, but I think maybe someone forgot where their pit box was and panicked a little bit. But yeah, Jeff's going to have a longer pit stop. He has no front wing.
He may.
Victor Carr no rear wing. So
he may. I had to stay with the lead because Clenworth lost the lead to Craig Forsyth in that exchange, and they are both on pit road.
The yellow
We've got a
flag is
caution.
out.
Caution is on the speedway. Mason Mitchum has crashed at the pit entry. Caution is on the speedway, and that may very well, as he tries to get the ship righted, that may very well be the win for Kyle Clinworth and Craig Forsyth. And the reason is everybody's...
Are people out of fuel is the question.
Yeah, are people out of fuel? I think Clindy may have been out of fuel. There's Forsyth as he hits pit road. There's the pace car. They're going to be able to get off pit road here, and I don't believe...
Man, that is the worst time to have that problem, though, Mark. Especially if you're trying to save the fuel and then a caution comes out, pits are closed, you have to go another whole lap. It's a short lap, but it still matters.
Well, so here's the thing. Craig Forsyth and Kyle Clinworth now have the entire field essentially trapped on the tail end of the lead lap because of the way the caution car works here. There are a couple of quirks with Phoenix. One of those is that you can restart on what is essentially the backstretch because you can, in iRacing, you can pass the pace car while it's on pit lane. So the restart for an IndyCar race here is effectively the entrance to what is turn 1. The other point that I'd like to make with that is when a caution flies in that situation, the pace car exits before the start-finish line, Andrew. And so with Forsyth and Clinworth on pit road, it picked them up as the leader, and everybody had to slow down behind the pace car. So they get a free lap and fresh tires and fuel.
Yeah, this is one of those kind of sketchy things where on a short track, you can easily come on a short track like this, everyone drives all the way around to the pace car. So it's very, very difficult to get an advantage on the pit lane there. And Clinworth was very, very lucky to not get caught out by that because he was coming down pit lane, and I think he had ran it to the last second. So if he had waited one more lap, potentially, that could have been the end of the race for him.
Well, here's what I'm gonna talk about here, and this is kind of a good illustration, Andrew, of it. This is kind of a good illustration of it. Watch Christopher here as he comes around. I'm going to pause it just so everybody can kind of see what I'm talking about, because we're gonna get, if you look right there, there's the exit of pit lane, okay? And if you go back, you see the pit boxes on the inside there. The start-finish line is behind them. The pace car is exiting here, and Forsyth and Clinworth are pitted in pit boxes after the start-finish line. So the pace car thinks that they've already completed the lap they're picking up. It's just an interesting quirk here that you don't see very often.
So it's always a difficult situation to figure out. Yeah, Phoenix has just gotten way too complicated for reasons that hurts commentators trying to figure out exactly where everyone is. So yeah, everyone's behind the start-finish line, so that also is a factor in determining the positions. Right.
There is exactly about a 5-second window where this happens for Craig and Clindy, and it happened. We are going to get back to green here one more time at Phoenix in the Area 51 IndyCar Series. Forsyth leads Clinworth and Christopher, but Stouffer has 2 lap cars
Green.
in the way. Here comes Craig, and we've got a yellow flag. That is that Devin Brock stopped?
Bill Burrell is down there.
Bill Burrell. I'm sorry, I miscalled that. Bill Burrell is stopped at the start-finish line. Caution is back on the speedway, and we have a ton of cars with black flags. Ryan Kelly.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that was maybe he thought he had to let someone else by, and then all of a sudden the green flag came out.
You know, I bet that's what it is. He's getting the message to slow down and let somebody pass him. And when he did
suddenly the green flag's there.
The green flag comes out. Yeah, the green flag comes out, and it's immediately yellow again. There are copious amounts of black flags. Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, Bill Colley, and Bill Burrell all have a black flag They all have black flags, and so I'm going to try to sort that out, Andrew. I believe those were passing under yellow as related to the pit stops, and so race control here might have some sorting out to do. It's 138 of 175 is what we're working here in the Area 51 Round 2 of Season 2026. Season 1, Mark Murphy, Andrew Wood with you. If you haven't already done it, make sure that you click the like button on the broadcast, ring the bell, subscribe to P1 so that you can be notified of all future iRacing action. We'd like to thank our friends at 4D Raceware for their support of the series. And I'm with Quickford. All biscuits is about right, isn't it, Andrew? Do want to thank the audience here too. You guys have been guys and gals, I should say, have been absolutely terrific, keeping up with the chat. The pace car should be getting the lights off, and when it does, we're going to have one lap back to green. Quickford, exactly right. One of the many reasons that the old Phoenix, I think, is preferred among most open wheel fans. The kink at the old Phoenix is not as severe. It's not banked. It's more of a true corner, and it kind of breaks up the track enough that if you get that corner wrong, you've got to burp the throttle a little bit. And when you do need to burp the throttle, it allows for guys to make moves and passes that are not so available here on the new version. Craig Forsyth is going to lead him back around. He's got the restart in hand. We go back green at Phoenix.
Green flag, green flag.
There comes Craig.
It does seem like that this particular yellow has now opened up that fuel safe situation again. Gary Lovern is coming to pit lane. Maybe he didn't get his black flag looked at.
Well, Charles Johnson is there too.
So Gary Lovern now is coming from fifth place.
Yeah, and so too, Charles Johnson is in that same boat. I wonder, Andrew, what they will clear them if it's an erroneous penalty for passing under the yellow. But if they were out of fuel, on there,
good point. Yes,
and entered a closed pit, they may not clear those. Wayne Campbell sets the purple lap.
James Mullen is on the wall. It looks like he saves it. I think he's kind of in the middle of the track right now.
We'll get back to that because there was just a pass for the lead. Craig Forsyth has gone by Kyle Clinworth. Forsyth to the lead. And there's James Molinaw, and he is trying, I think, just to stay out of the way of the field, make some laps. He can pass Mason Mitchum, Bill Burrell, Bill Colley. There are cars available out there for him to get by, and so Molinaw still wants to circulate. This is a points championship after all, Andrew. As we watch Kyle Clinworth battle back to the outside of Craig Forsyth, and as we get to 30 laps to go, this is the point where these two are going to start letting the rough side hang, and Chris Stouffer is about to join that battle and make it a three-car party.
I'm sure the 4D guys really want to stamp their authority here, so Forsyth's going to do whatever he can to help Stouffer get a little bit of a draft or a little bit of an advantage over Clemworth, and Clemworth's going to find himself kind of smothered here in a few seconds as Stouffer is using his hybrid correctly and finding a way to get that advantage on Clemworth.
Most certainly so, and Clindy would have a lot of experience with a hybrid. He runs a lot of races, Andrew, a lot of leagues. He's in officials all the time. Kyle Clinworth races more than just about anybody I know, and that experience shows.
Stouffer's going for it.
We're going three wide here.
This might be a 4D raceware play, so Forsyth just kind of lets Stouffer have it. Clemworth has to go to the outside, otherwise he's boxed in. But if they can pull us off, Stouffer and Forsyth, they're going to be 1-2 for the 4D guys.
They most certainly are. Clindy back to third, and that's something worth mentioning. The 40
That's
race,
incredible teamwork.
It is. The 40 Racewear team does have several entries here. Chris Stouffer, of course, Craig Forsyth, Jim Herrick is a part of that team, as is Devin Brock, Bill Burrell. They have several entries. Richie Hearn. On the Votive Racing League side, you've got Shane Coker, Gary Lovern, and Mason Mitchum. But Clindy is kind of a lone ranger here, even though it says Votive Racing League on the side of that car. That's a Rogue Racing machine, and he does not have any teammates in the field.
It's just so incredible what the power of teamwork does for you. That was what we watched there, was the epitome of teamwork. Forsyth has the lead. He has somewhat of a stranglehold on Wirt Clemworth. If you surge forward here and I sort of lift a little bit, you'll have the advantage. You may go high in the next corner, but I can possibly hold on to that same spot. That is exactly how it works. You see that all the time at all the fast ovals, that the guys work together to sort of draft. You can't really draft so well here, but it gives an advantage to work together. And now they're going to kind of build a wall together of dirty air so that Clemworth can't really break through it. So if it works out correctly, they could find themselves in a 1-2 spot here. But Clemworth is smart enough to play around a little bit here to see if they can break it up a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to give it a shot. If there's anybody in the field that could pull off some sort of a 3-wide move like that, these are the 3 drivers that you would expect to be able to pull that off. Clindy is Clindy Cindy down the inside of Chris Stouffer. You're going to have to be careful. He's going to be careful with that. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is this scan of Phoenix has a tunnel instead of the old footbridge. And that tunnel, Andrew, has a bit of a hump or a ridge, or as I like to call it, a ditch down there off of turn 2. And if you hook your car in that ditch wrong on the inside, it'll turn you around pretty quick. Clindy gets back by Stouffer, and that was a power move on the outside, Andrew.
I was worried how Clemworth came off of turn 2 there. Stouffer kind of got boxed in. He got a little bit caught in Forsyth's dirty air. I think he just guessed a little bit wrong there. No fault of anyone.
Move for the lead.
I think he might have just used the hybrid at the right time, Clemworth, that is, and managed to get on the outside. And once Stouffer got pinned to the inside of turn 3, it was over.
Absolutely. So look at the respect that these 3 have for each other.
They're just so they're taking different lines everywhere. They're trying everything. All 3 of these guys want it. It's not like you're watching a race where some people are hanging out, trying to figure out what their best situation is. All 3 of these guys are going for this win right now because all 3 of them have had a stake in the development of how this race has gone. Stouffer is doing exactly to Clemworth what Clemworth did to him last time, and now Clendy pays the price, falls to 3rd place. Stouffer gets 2nd place back.
Well, we kind of learned at Kentucky, you and I did, as we learned together, that the hybrid system on an oval, you get an advantage when you have the draft to recharge that thing. Do you think it makes the leader here a little bit of a sitting duck because you don't have the benefit of the draft to recharge?
Can't answer that question yet because I haven't tried that really around here, but I'm just trying to picture from my own experience of what I went through with that. And I think that the hybrid is probably a little less of a priority around here. I could be wrong.
Oh, Chris Stouffer in the wall, and now Clindy's got a broken front wing, Andrew. He's forgiven, as Gary Godson would say. Now Stouffer's around. Stouffer, he saves it. Wayne Campbell gets past, as does Nicholas Stockner, and Stockner is going to go to 2nd.
That all developed so fast, Gary. I was watching another battle on the track right behind, and looks like there was a... Yeah, let's go back and watch that.
So what you're going to see here is Kyle Clenworth is racing pretty hard with Chris Stouffer for the 2nd spot, and he's going to make what I'm going to call limited contact with Stouffer. Netcode we know because Clendy is forgiven. but I don't know that it didn't damage Chris Stouffer in some way that was not forgiven, because Stouffer gets down into turn one and immediately loses the rear end. Clindy stands on the brakes to avoid it. And Stouffer gets tagged again by Wayne Campbell. That allows Nicholas Stockner through, along with Matty Wagner and Gary Lovern on Chris Stouffer. And Stouffer has fallen all the way back to 13th spot. So there are problems with that machine. Clindy immediately gets back by Stockner, and we got to see this. We have got to see this from the roll bar of Kyle Clintworth. Watch how close this is, Andrew. Here we come.
I can't believe that was a more dramatic incident there, Murph. It seemed like it was set for disaster, to be honest. Like Stouffer just reacted, and Clenworth was just there. Like that just happened to be exactly where he was. But we saw a very similar incident in the Derby there.
We did. That does promote Craig Forsyth.
That restart.
Yeah,
it seems like these cars take a little bit of a worse hit from the rear that we're used to seeing.
They do. Now that's going to string out Forsyth and Clenworth into first and second pretty handily. And now the fight is on for the bottom step of the podium between Nicholas Stockner, Matt Wagner, and Gary Lovern. They run positions 3, 4, and 5. Paul Ascori is right. What a shakeup that was. Poor Chris Stouffer, he had to come to the pit lane and effect his fast repair. He drops to 13th on the exchange, Andrew.
Yeah, he had to come into the pits to serve a little bit of damage repair there. But honestly, falling to 13th, coming to the pits, that's I could sense a lot more worse things happening. You would fall typically to 20 to 23rd or something like that with a situation like that. So not really too bad for all things considered.
We don't want to miss. I would show Chris Stouffer under normal circumstances, but with 6 laps to go, coming to get 5. P3, P4, and P5 are all over each other, and I do not want to leave that battle. It's worth mentioning Chris Stouffer just set the fastest lap and made his way past Wayne Campbell. He's 0.4 seconds quicker than his teammate Craig Forsyth leading, and I would bet you a shiny new dime, Andrew, that there is some red mist behind the visor of the driver of that 13 car, as Nicholas Stockner has staked his claim to third. Wagner tried it. He didn't get past him. Nicholas Stockner I would count that as a surprise podium if it stays the way it stays, Andrew. Stockner doing a whale of a job in that third spot.
Well, we watched Stockner have complete disaster race at Homestead last week, where he lost it off turn 2 there and ended his Homestead first race campaign, and we were just chalking down to first race jitters. Nicholas Stockner is always a fierce competitor in these cars, and it would be a great bounce back story to talk about if he is able to get on the podium for this one.
It most certainly would. Wagner continues to stalk him, but we're going to get 2 laps to go, and so it's worth calling Craig Forsyth home now. He's got a familiar foe behind him, but Chris Stouffer is 2 laps down and not challenging for the lead. Forsyth is absolutely going to let his teammate go. Get back, 1 lap to go. The white flag is out. No, the checkered flag is out for Craig Forsyth, and that's just how quick it happens.
Ooh, Peterson's in the wall. Not sure what happened there, but I don't think he's going to finish this race. Oh, no, he has wrecked into someone that has been into the wall.
Well, there's Peterson. He may be able to get it home.
He's trying to get the end of it. Gary Lovern managed to crash it, and Peterson hit him. We'll have to watch that after the race is over.
Yeah, Peterson is doing his best wall riding
Gary
impression
Lovern
there.
did his best Mark Murphy air impression, actually. We're going to have to go back and watch that once we're done with the standings here.
All right. So, we'll watch it now. How about that? There's Eric Peterson.
Just trying to get the anticipation going for you, since I know you love the airborne drivers.
Well, that wasn't it's not me going airborne. That's the key. It wasn't even Gary Lovern that caused the incident. It was James Molyneux was involved with another car there. They get together. Was that Wags?
Oh, that's Wagner.
And watch here from Gary Lovern. Molyneux and Wagner get involved, and Gary Lovern does his best Mark Murphy impression.
Wow.
I'm going to give that a 6.75.
I was waiting for that.
A 6.75, 6.6 from the East German judge. He was a little bit off on the landing, but poor Gary Lovern runs in the top 5 all day. He gets clobbered by Eric Peterson. He runs in the top 5 all day. The engine is blown at this point, so he cannot do what Peterson did, and he is going to finish 17th, and that is heartbreak for Gary Lovern.
Yeah, I hate to make a kind of a spectacle out of this for sure, but yeah, it was such. You race this whole time, you feel like you go through a little over an hour of this stuff, and then your race ends like that. It just seems like just a futile experiment. So I know we're kind of joking around a little bit, but that's really, really, really sad for those guys, especially the ones that made their way up towards the front of the pack for a really good finish. So unfortunate for them, but there's always the next race.
There is always the next time indeed, and Gary Lovern will be back. That is for certain sure. Going to victory lane, it's going to be Craig Forsyth. He defeats race 1 winner Kyle Clinworth, 1.018 seconds. Nicholas Stockner is going to be credited with 3rd place. Matty Wagner brings it home 4th, and a great result for him. Frank Irwin Jr. will round out the top 5, and that is a great result for Frank. How about Jim Herrick? We talked about it in the show. Jim Herrick, 40 Racewear, series sponsor. He brings it home in 6th. How about that, Andrew?
Great run for Herrick. I mean, he's had a lot of misfortune in several of the last bunch of races that I've called. So I'm really, really happy to see that Herrick has gotten a good finish now.
Ryan Kelly ran up front, got kind of in a bad position with the pit stop cycles. He finishes 7th after leading quite a few laps. Jeff Heisong, Devin Brock, Larry Yingling round out the top 10. Only 7 cars on the lead lap at the end of this one. In 11th, Kurt Rose, then Chris Stouffer. After his misfortune with Kyle Clinworth, he's going to come home 12th. Wayne Campbell, Eric Peterson, Joseph Morales, 13th through 15th. Rounding out the top 20, Charles Johnson, Gary Lovern, Victor Carr, Bill Colley, and Bill Burrell. In 21st, it's James Molyneux, then Mason Mitchum, Richie Hearn, and Shane Coker. All of those cars out of the event. What a finish, Andrew. That's all I can really say. Now, I will say this: Nicholas Stockner is not in. Now he's here, so we're gonna move him very briefly. He is gonna join us in the booth just as soon as I can find him. Nicholas Stockner, you've got Mark Murphy and Andrew Wood in the P1 Broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what, man. You stalked the top 5 in a very effective fashion. When Clinworth and Stouffer made contact, and then Stouffer had his suspension broken, you were right there to take advantage. You weren't able to hold on to 2nd, but a fine run to 3rd. Talk about your night.
Oh, well, it's kind of hard to really put into words, I guess. I came in just in time for qualifying after a good old 12-hour shift at the job, so no practice at all. In fact, I'd never driven Phoenix in the IndyCar before, so only owned this track for NASCARs in the past. So this was completely on the fly. 16th to 3rd, just started picking them off one by one, and cautions came our way, and lo and behold, about 15 to go, I saw I was 3rd. I couldn't believe it.
Man, Stockner, you and I go way back. We go way back 6-7 years now, and I remember that Bobby Rahal livery stuff you got going on way back in the day, and it's really, really great to see that you finally come back to a spot where you're sitting in the podium area here now. So let's talk about how your race went. Did you feel like in the middle of the pack that you were kind of moving forward? Did you just maintain? Did you save fuel? Kind of what was your strategy going through this whole race?
It was a fuel save. Really. That's all. That's all I really knew how to do. I can't save tires for anything, so the tires would basically fall off the car about 20 laps into a run, and then after that, it was really just struggling. I definitely never felt fast, which was just strange for me. The whole time I was just thinking, man, I just suck. We're just not having a good evening. But
Well, I was going to ask, how did your race from Homestead translate into your Phoenix race here? Like, did you feel like, man, I got off to a really bad start in the season and now I got to make things up? Or did you just go into this race saying, okay, we'll just kind of ride it how it goes? Or did you feel like you had to really make a stamp here?
no, we ain't gonna be no championship contender or nothing this season. The quality of talent at the front of the field just doesn't really put us anywhere close. So really the goal tonight was just to finish. You know, wrecking at a Homestead and finishing dead last is never how you want to start a season, but unfortunately that's how we started ours. And really just wanted to get a finish. I would have been happy finishing 16th where I started, but we'll take this.
Hey, anytime you can run on the podium, Nicholas, you've had a great evening, as you mentioned, especially with the quality and the depth of this field. As is the tradition here on P1, you make the podium, you get the mic, friends, family, sponsors, shout outs. The floor is yours, my friend.
Of course, shout out to P1 Broadcasting for, I guess it's probably the biggest ever broadcast I've ever gotten a podium interview on. So that's pretty nice to hear. Shout out to my family, Mom, Nina, Mariah, my granddad, Baba, for watching every race, being along for the ride. Daikin Applied Americas, Familiar Strange, Whitehead Die Casting, Zynic Capital, Milliken and Company for making the car go fast every week, and Andrew and Mark for calling a great race, I'm sure, and then all the boys up at Area 51 to put on a great league. It's good to race here.
It most certainly is a fun place to be, a fun place to race in a very well-run league, and we're happy to have you here. Nicholas, keep going fast and having fun, my friend.
I'll try my best, Mark. You do the same.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
Absolutely. That is Nicholas Stockner. He is your third place runner tonight. For second place, we're going to talk to a guy who has a lot of experience in the P1 broadcasting booth. Clindy, you've got Murph, you've got Andrew Wood in the P1 broadcasting booth. That was an eventful evening for you, for sure. You were right around the front for almost all of it. Kind of walk us through it and talk about your night.
Yeah, so I started on the pole and got out to a good lead, and then I realized I wasn't going to make the fuel number, not even close, so I mapped down and let Chris tow us around, and I don't think he was too concerned about hitting the fuel number because he missed it pretty big on the first stint. And Craig and I just was like, if I can save enough fuel as Craig, I'm going to be fine. And so I was like, I'm not pitting until he pits, and I ran out of fuel on the pit road twice behind him doing that, but that's just the consequence of having the first pit stall. So I kind of wish I'd qualified like 5th or 6th instead of up there at the front, because I sputtered about 5 or 6 pit stalls short both times. Then we got those mid-race yellows and really put Chris behind the 8 ball, but it let him make it on fuel. And then it was me versus 2 4D guys, and they had great teamwork, and they raced me clean and fair. And I think Chris just maybe thought he was clear in the dog leg that with like 15 to go or whatever that was. And I brake checked, went left, and tried not to hit him, but I think it broke his left rear tire, and he almost spun in the flat end of the track. So I just had to stamp on the brakes to miss him, and then Craig drove off to the sunset because he got about 2 seconds ahead, and I drove my guts out to try to catch him, but it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, let's talk about that 40 Great Wall that we probably saw happening there. I'm kind of curious to how much the hybrid played into that whole entire scenario. So I saw that it looked like Stouffer did the 3 wide to get by you guys in turn 2, and it seemed like you were put behind a little bit. But then all of a sudden, you found yourself on the outside going into turn 2, maybe 4 or 5 laps later, to try and get that run. Was that a lot of the hybrid going there, or were you deploying the hybrid at a turn 2, going down the pit straightaway there to try and get the outside run? And was the outside run really the favorable way to go into turn 3?
Well, the track was so cool and the setup was so good. It was almost very nearly entirely flat out all the way around. You had to very barely lift to get into turn 3 to hit the bottom. And if you ran the middle, you could just go flat. So I think Craig and Chris decided to get a little racy for the lead, and they left the bottom open. So I just got a huge run, and then I deployed on the backstretch to get close. But it took almost 5 or 6, 7, sometimes even 10 laps to charge the hybrid, because if you were leading, that little micro lift you do into turn 3 is all you get. Because if you press the button, you just get blown by the guy behind you. Like, even if he's not on the button, he'll just blow your doors off because you're so slow recharging manually. So the hybrid was very impactful if you could be patient enough to have it fully charged and deploy it down a straightaway. It just took nearly 10 laps to do that if you were the leader. And then if you're second place, you can just tuck up behind the guy and do it on a straightaway, and then deploy half of it the next lap to get everything back you lost, and then regenerate that half. And then once they leave a lane open for you, you take it and deploy, and you can at least pull side by side. You can't really clear from the top side in 3 and 4, or in 1 and 2. So you have to hope they leave the bottom, and a way you can arc the bottom without scrubbing all your speed. The one time I got to the lead, I just got put on the bottom by Craig, and when you're stuck only on the bottom, you just have no drive off, and I had no hybrid left, so it's kind of sit and duck.
You hear that, Murph? Free advice there.
Free advice indeed, Clindy, and congratulations. 2 appearances, 2 podiums in this on the campaign. That's the way you start a championship run, and I'm sure you're gonna pad that points lead quite a bit. Craig Forsyth was quite a ways behind you due to an 8th place finish in round 1. So good deal for you there too. As you know, it's now time to do your thing. Friends, family, sponsor shoutouts. The floor belongs to Kyle Clintworth.
Yeah, first and foremost, congratulations to Craig. He drove a really good race, really smart race. He made the number and kept the lead when it mattered most. Shout out to Nicholas. It looks like this is his first podium, so congratulations are in order there. And then thanks to all my road racing teammates. The guys at the Votive Racing Shop who I ran with in this race didn't quite go their way. I know Gary got a black flag, and Mason and Shane both fell to damage, but it's cool to spend time with them. And obviously, you can watch us in a couple of Sundays' time on the Votive Racing League on P1 Broadcasting. So thanks to you and Andrew and Gary and LGN and everybody who makes this show go on, and Jacob Collins and Sophie O'Connell, who are doing the Indy Next broadcast this evening. Thanks to my cousin Craig, who runs Segerman Farms. Thanks to my mom, who watches every time. And if you go to advance.gg, you can get their new peach tea flavor that dropped today. It's limited availability. You can use my promo code CLENDYSENDY with a capital K and a capital S. Get 10% off that order. And I'll get out of your hair, Murph. Thanks for having me.
You know, it's been my pleasure calling this one. Clindy, thank you so much for stopping in. As always, keep going fast and having fun, buddy.
Of course, see you later.
Yes, sir. That is Kyle Clintworth, who finishes in the second spot, the bridesmaid. And now it's time to talk to the bride, Craig Forsyth. You've got Murph and you've got Andrew Wood in the P1 broadcasting booth. You had quite the time today. Spent most of the time battling with Clindy and Stouffer. You were the man in the chair when the music stopped there at the end. Clindy and Chris had their contact. Kind of talk about your strategy once it was you and Stouffer 1-2 to try to bring home the win.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Kyle covered most of it, honestly, but a lot of it was if you were in the lead, you didn't have the hybrid. I was desperately, like, anytime I had anyone's draft in front of me, I was like, even the lapped cars, I was immediately manually harvesting the hybrid just so I had something to defend with. But I mean, the guys were getting such good runs. I was even saying to Chad, is like, I think I'd rather be in second or third because I have more confidence in my ability to roar past them than to just spend the entire time defending, which was, I mean, against those two guys is just, it's rough. They are good. And I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say I think we got lucky because of Chris and Kyle getting together. I mean, you could see. I mean, Kyle was back running me around once he got going again, and I mean, yeah, it was. Kyle mentioned the same thing. It was like we were running for the fuel numbers early on in the race, making sure that we were going to be able to make it, but more importantly, going to be able to make that last stint at full blast. And I was working hard in the second last stint there just to make sure that I wanted to get it down to 40, and I think I got it to 43 or 42, which it meant you weren't going to be able to map one the whole way, but you were going to be able, you only would have had to save 10 laps or so, and then you would have been fine. So yeah, I was confused when I went past Kyle on that final lap going in, and then I realized he was that out of fuel. Trying to, I mean, basically he showed it was that important to stretch the fuel to get to be able to make it, so that because you didn't want to be caught in one of the fuel save maps towards the end of the race when everyone's turned it up, when the guys who have fuel saved have turned it up to 1, because this is a track where map 1 and you can just go foot to the floor once you're fully committed and ready to go. So you could see that. I think in that third stint there, Ryan just drove away because he was like, I'm not doing the fuel save, I'm just going. And you could see Chris and I didn't try keeping up with him. Kyle tried to keep up with him, and because of that, that's what let us back up to Kyle on that last lap there and have him sputter his way through pit lane. I think what he also said, I mean, as far as pit boxes at this track, because of how curved the pit lane is, it's honestly, I don't think third or fourth is the best pit box. I think like 7th through 10th is the best pit box because it lets you completely shortcut the kink that's halfway down the pit lane. Because everyone had to stay to the far right side of pit lane. That was part of our rules, but they were allowed to go in three stalls before their pit box. So the guys that had the pit stalls that were right on that kink, that's like a full second of time saved just from being in that pit position. So there is an advantage that like to not actually qualifying near the pointy end of the field at this track specifically.
Oh my God, I have so many questions right now, Craig.
Ask them all.
Well, I was honestly, Kyle was talking about how it was taking, if he was in the lead, he was taking 10 laps to automatically regen his hybrid. And all I was thinking was, I couldn't do that. I was never off the throttle enough to ever have that happen.
Yes, I have a ton of questions, but we'll save some for offline. But with regard to this race, I'm kind of curious as to what your strategy was for working with your teammate, right? So were you actually trying to find a way to get Chris and you together to race side by side to block off that win? And also, a secondary question is you had mentioned that you wanted to be second place and not the leader. Why is that at a track like Phoenix? Did you feel like there was actually an advantage you can get on the leader for some aspect of the stint? Is there a tire burning with the hybrid or something that is a line procedure and with the different characteristics of the car that kind of burns the rears of the car off more that allows you to pounce at the end of the stint?
No, honestly, it was just because I was really terrible at harvesting the hybrid when I was in the lead. And it was really, really easy to harvest the hybrid when you were in second or third. So you could basically just deploy whenever you saw an opportunity. And if it didn't work out, immediately be back to full half a lap later. And if you were in the lead, you struggled to try and regain hybrid. And if you tried to use it to defend and even if you were successful, the person was going to be back trying to push their way past you half a lap later because they'd already regen their hybrid. So that was where I was taking. It was like once I got out into the lead, it was like I was having to defend to the inside just because of the amount of overspeed the guys were getting with the hybrid deployment and the amount of times they were able to deploy their hybrid versus how rarely I could get enough charge to do it myself. I'm still learning the hybrid. It's like, as I said, Kyle blew my mind saying that even in the lead, he was able to automatically recharge the hybrid. That was flat out not something I could do at all. So every time I was recharging it in the lead, it was because I had the draft of a lapped car in front of me and was using their draft to manually recharge it for myself. But as far as Chris and I goes, like we hadn't gotten to the point that any of the times that the two of them were side by side. Of course, I was always then making sure that I would give the draft to Chris to try and help pull him along. But we hadn't at that point until like we were going to be 10 to go, we hadn't really discussed what we were going to do as far as setting ourselves up for the final. It was just we were still in the just getting ourselves to the 10 to go phase.
Well, I'm gonna lay some stats on Craig Forsyth while he's in there, just to illustrate for everybody on P1 exactly how good Craig is, because he doesn't show up in a lot of the official races, and so you don't really get to see him a lot unless it's in the league environment. Craig, this is your 41st win in Area 51. That is 14 better than second place Nick DeGroot and equal to Nick DeGroot and Matt Wagner combined. This guy wins in 20% of his starts. So when you see Craig Forsyth show up at the front with 10 laps to go, you know he's going to be a threat to take home the checkered flag. I just thought that was extremely interesting, Craig, that you said that, because you put yourself in perfect position to win the race. Congratulations on capturing the flag, and as always, my man, you win the race. Instead of a bottle of milk or a champagne shower, you get to talk. So shout out as many people as you like. Go ahead, my friend. You've earned it.
No, I mean, I first and foremost got to thank Jim over at 4D Raceware, sponsor for our team, sponsor for the league, sponsor for the broadcast. I mean, Jim is the biggest supporter of the IndyCar series on iRacing, I think. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any other sponsor that shows up in more leagues and official broadcast races than Jim at 4D. So love the guy. He's a great guy. Big supporter for the IndyCars on iRacing. And I mean the whole team. We had Richie unfortunately got caught up in some incidents tonight. He really liked the setup in the track tonight. He was really excited for it. I mean, Chris was dominant tonight. Bill's still learning, but he is a sponge when it comes to absorbing information. So it's good to have someone who's wanting to learn and get tips constantly. And everyone at Area 51. This is the first league I ever joined back when I was almost quitting iRacing. So this is the league that kept me around. And I love all the guys here. I love the fact that we're getting big, full fields. I thank all of the drivers for coming back this season, all the new drivers who've come out. We appreciate each and every one of them. I hope we put on a good race tonight. I hope the drivers enjoyed it. I hope the fans enjoyed it. Mark, Andrew, thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Gary over at P1. You guys, everyone, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see everyone soon. And that's it. Wait, did I forget anyone?
I hope not. You got any big plans for the?
Probably. You probably did, but that's fine.
My wife is shaking her head at me. Also, I thank my wife. I love her dearly.
Do you?
Wow. There we go.
There you go. That's the man right there. You got any big plans for the 24 this weekend? You guys gonna run?
No, it sounds like we've got enough guys that are off doing other things that we won't be. So unfortunately, we will not. We will not. I generally don't do the 20. My weekends are rather busy, so I try not. I did it a couple of years ago and during COVID, but it's more being awake than I like to do on a weekend. So as soon as other guys started saying no, they were too busy, I was the first one going, okay, I'm not in it then.
There you go. Well, I tell you what, Craig, it's always a pleasure to see you. Keep going fast, having fun, buddy, and we'll see you at the next one.
You bet, you guys. Stay safe.
Absolutely. That is Craig Forsyth. He is your winner this evening here in round 2 of the Area 51 IndyCar Series from Phoenix. And the fun doesn't stop, Andrew. It's going to keep right on rolling. We are off next week in Area 51, but the series is going to return January 27th, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on P1 from Atlanta. That is the site, I believe, of my first Area 51 trophy on Nick DeGroot, I might add. That was a fun race.
Is that the old Atlanta?
It does not say. It just says Atlanta. So we may just have to be surprised, Andrew.
Okay, we'll go with that. I'm actually glad we're not here next week, because I will be attending the real life Atlanta race.
Is that right?
Real life Daytona race coming up next week. And I will be back for the broadcast for that, but I'm going to come back with a lot of knowledge of all these big race cars that race around Daytona, and I'm going to try and picture what they might drive like at Atlanta. I'm not really sure what that would be like, but I think that's definitely something that we're going to see these cars running on the old Atlanta.
They're fun either way. The new Atlanta is kind of an anomaly within iRacing IndyCar, within the iRacing IndyCar community, in that it runs qualifying boost at only that track.
Yes.
And so the speeds there are absolutely incredible. And then, of course, the old Atlanta, the tires get worn out rolling them through the pit lane to stack them up to put them on the car later. And so that's a fun race either way, really. And we're glad to bring it to you here on P1. If you can't get enough of this, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to P1 so that you can be notified of all future iRacing action. Tomorrow night, Gary Godso, Stephen Larkamp, they're going to have the Formula Indy Series at 8:20. We are off Thursday, Friday, and Saturday here at P1. There will be a stream of the AMA Blackmagic Studios Star Car. That's going to be several personalities from the American Motorsports Association that normally airs Thursday and Friday. There will be no commentary, just hourly updates and video, but if you want to check on how that car is going in the 24, if you'd like to see some comedic relief that includes me turning right, tune that in at some point Saturday. We're going to start at 11:30 Saturday afternoon, and we're going to end 11:30 Sunday. I know that Andrew's going to look in there and be sure to offer helpful advice, right, Andrew?
We'll see. It depends on how much I know or not.
You know a lot more about road racing than I do. And speaking of people that know a lot more than I do, we've got to thank the drivers, the fans, really everybody that makes this possible, everybody at Area 51, but we've really also got to thank the people who really make it possible, the military, the police, the firemen, the EMTs that drive the ambulance, and the nurse that unloads you when you get there. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you all. Good night, everybody, from Phoenix, and we will see you at the next one.